bounce back. I'm very sure of it. Okay, I already have in the studio this morning Fola Daniels. He is an inspirational speaker. He is a youth leader. He is also an entrepreneur. And he was once a teenager. Now he's a man, a big man for that matter. He's already getting ready to nurture the next set of teenagers. Good morning, Fola. Thank you very
I'm
much
still
for
a
being.
teenager.
Eh?
I'm still a teenager.
He? Did you just say that?
Wait, am I not 17?
How can a 17-year-old?
I'm in under 17. Nigerian, is this super, no, not Super Eagles, AFCON. I'm in under 17.
Don't go that way. Don't go that way. Thank you very much for being on the
My
program.
pleasure.
And we're going to be joined very shortly by my other guest, Tinuke Odjenima. She's already around. You know, there's something with women and makeup. No matter what we want to talk about, we just have to look good, you know. So she's already trying to look good this morning. She'll be in the studio in a few minutes. But last week, Fola, we had a barrage of text messages coming in. We have about 67 unread messages. And I promised the viewers, we'll take it up from there. Of course, we're still on the issue of teenagers.
Yeah.
Now, Isabella from Lagos, she was one of those that sent us a text. So we're going to take it from Isabella's message. She says, I'd like to know why teenagers are always depressed.
Okay, so one of the things...
I don't know if I want to agree or disagree with Isabella.
They're not always depressed,
Because
but some of them are depressed.
I have some at home that the only thing that gets that particular one depressed is, when you are coming, please buy Zinga Burger. Then when you now get home without Zinga Burger, the depression starts.
Okay, so one of the things we need to pay attention to is that at that teenage level, they need a lot of communication. And when that doesn't happen, or when they cannot communicate with their parents or someone who is trustworthy, who is going to provide a worthy example for them, they can go into depression. One of the challenges that we have is that parents seem to be overbearing. Parents seem to have discipline too much when when these young people were growing up, before they got into their teenage years or while still in their teenage years, because we felt, particularly in this part of the world, that beating, spanking, whatever it is what gets the job done. Sometimes the spanking is good, and there are other times you just need to communicate. But if all you do is spanking and you don't communicate, then the teenagers get to that level where they cannot talk to you anymore. And they are in a phase where they need to keep talking to someone. So because you have not created that room for communication, there's a communication breakdown between you and your teenagers. It will be difficult for them to relate with you. So they have issues they are bottling up. They are looking for the right person to communicate with. So yes, they will easily slide into depression because they can't communicate with you. But if they find someone that they can communicate with, they will unburden. They will open up. So however, if it's the wrong person, there's another trouble, which is why a lot of people don't understand that teenage pregnancy is also linked to this. They run into the open arms of someone who has listening ears, who will eventually take advantage of them. It's all in the bid of, I want someone to talk to. I need someone to unburden with. And the parents are too busy for that. So when parents are too busy...
Is it that they're too busy or...
They're either too busy or not communicating at all. And most times, you know, in African homes, you hear things like, what are you thinking with your head? You know, you watch your children once in a while and they seem lost in thoughts, especially if they are young. And when you watch your teenagers and they are lost in thoughts and you're concluding or you're saying to them, what are you thinking of? Or why are you so lost in thoughts? We seem to assume that teenagers don't have things that bother them. And because they do not have things that bother them, it's not possible for them to be lost in thoughts. They have myriads of thoughts that bother them or that weigh them down as well. They're wondering, when am I going to become an adult? They're wondering, when can I take decisions on my own?
And they're also wondering, when can I make my millions?
Exactly. Just as we are. So let's not conclude that they have nothing bothering them so much so that they cannot be lost in thoughts. But the most important of all is communication with them. If they were never your friends before they became teenagers, There's no magic to it. They can't become your friends while they are teenagers, except you start building that rapport gradually. And they have to see that you're not building the rapport just so that you can extract what you want out of them. Because our mothers are very good at that.
Excuse me.
That's what you do.
Oh, me gosh.
You become our friends when you need to extract information, like the FBI agents. And once you extract your information, no, don't worry now, you can trust me. After we can trust you and we spill it out, it comes back with a slippers landing on the face.
Oh my goodness. Somebody is nodding in the studio that yes. So, okay, Tinuke is already here. Atinuke Odjenima, thank you for coming this morning. I actually told the viewers that you had to go and look good. By the way,
for the first time, you're going to make us fight because you're pitching us against each other.
You're not going to fight.
Okay.
You're not going to fight. You know, he was actually responding to Isabella's message, and Isabella was asking why teenagers are always depressed. I don't agree with Isabella. They're not always depressed. Or do you agree with her?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I think
as much as truly I heard Fola say something about they have their own issues too, though yes they do, but I do not agree that all teenagers, you know, are depressed. I think it's still a function of parenting relationship with their children, which he mentioned. So not all teenagers can actually or are actually going through depression or are depressed, of which that is not to say that there is no potentiality for that, because you know last week I told you about how they are also wanting to find expression.
That's true. And that's exactly what Shola. Well, this is a very disturbing text message here. And we're very sorry for that technical hitch. It's AM Saturday Live, and we're still talking about teenagers. And what we're talking about now is this text message from Shedrack. Shedrack is from Jos. And I'm going to throw it straight at you, Tinuke. Good morning. My name is Shedrack from Jos. I have a child. She's 14. She only listens to her mom. But me, it is a problem. I don't know what to do.
Okay. 15, girl, 14, a girl child.
Yes.
And
she listens to her mom only.
She listens to her mom only. So he's interested in having a good relationship, right?
Yes.
With his 14-year-old daughter.
Yes.
So in that case, so of course, it's obvious that there's a gap, and the gap is what relationship. And anything for you to start any relationship at all, you know what it is? Establish communication. So the first thing that this dad should do for his 14-year-old daughter is to show interest in her, interest of wanting to be a friend.
Okay.
See, teenagers sometimes do not want to see their parents as parents. They want to see their parents as friends. They want to be able to say, oh,
as
mommy,
paddy?
As paddy, honestly.
Let's
you know,
play the same.
you know, the kind of their slangs. Well, sometimes use their slangs for them.
Yes,
you know, like for my own case now, when I was growing up, I hear my dad say things like, I will come down to your level. So coming down to my level, you know what he's trying to do? He's trying to establish a rapport. So he's trying to, you know, think like I would think, and not with the mind of wanting to judge me or correct me. Okay, so the correction might come later, even when I'm not even conscious that he's actually correcting me based on the conversation that we earlier had. So any relationship at all, take for instance, if I want to have a relationship with you, the first thing I will look out for is, how do I speak with you? How do we have a rapport? How do I come into what you're doing?
A shared frame of reference.
Exactly.
We must have a shared frame of reference. So the parent should, in other words, what are you trying to say now, if I'm right, is that I should get involved in the things they get involved
with. So what matters? So first thing that this dad should do is he should observe what matters to the child, a girl child. I mean, don't they say that girl children are usually close to their father? Like Fola earlier said, true. Anyway, let's just put this clause there. Sometimes some mothers are so, how do I put it? I don't want to use your word manipulative. So rather, maybe they are so
They have strategic
They are
investment,
strategic,
emotional investments.
or self-centered. Exactly.
Fola.
Yes, yes.
There are two mothers here. Oh.
Yes.
No, sometimes some mothers do that. Yes, we can't take that away. So, but I will also say that as much as the father is trying to get the attention, you know, of this child, he should also walk through the mother.
Wow. How will that happen?
Yes, that can happen.
How?
Didn't they just meet themselves before they had the child? So how is it going to happen? It's like, okay, you know what? What's going on in this girl's life? How do you get through to her? So he can practically get tips from the mother. And the mother was okay. So
I
maybe she
also
doesn't
think
like.
there's something we don't do often around here, which is what I'm planning to do, God helping me and stuff like that. You know, there are some parents who have developed the culture of having a date with their children.
Date with your children.
That's intentional.
Because
intentional
because you take them
building.
out, you take them out of their comfort zone, you take them into another zone where everybody is relaxed. It's not a formal atmosphere for discussion. Have you noticed that when you take children out, they are very free?
Yes.
So
They are so free.
consciously, you need to create it often, that you go out with your children. You realize that when they are happy, they let things out. There's no mouth that doesn't run when it's happy.
Let me also add that this going out, so we make it clear. So people will not be like, oh, all the time we have to spend money. Do you know it could just be, I want to go on a stroll.
A stroll, a recreational center,
I'm telling
where
you, I
you're
want
not
to go on a stroll.
necessarily buying.
And there could be times,
too when you buy.
True.
But the buying is planned. Take, for example, your son wants his next phone. And when he wants his next phone, you plan it around the time when you know you're going to have a long discussion. So if you can walk, you take a walk, talk about the gadgets, talk about why that gadget is so important. And before you know it, you chip in something somewhere in between the gadgets. Then you come back to the gadgets, pay for the gadgets, go back to the discussion. You know, it's called the sandwich approach. So you're having some discussion, you're picking things here and there, but you're still talking exactly, but you're still talking about what that child is interested in. Even if it's a child that just wants, okay, let's just have some ice cream, or let's just at times you create it in your house. There are times when I just buy a couple of drinks and we all gather at the table and we're drinking.
There's one we do in my own house. It's called suya party.
Because
fight and beat
when my father was alive, we used to do suya. Sometimes we did granuts. Sometimes
or pizza.
Well, my generation is not a pizza generation. What we had was, and don't forget, my father was also born in the north.
Sometimes it could also be around movies, like when you
create
time to watch movie together. Like that's what we do in my own house.
So you can have some serious conversations
around
those things.
Okay, there's another text message, beg your pardon. Kingsley from Anambra. Kingsley says, I concur with the guest. The parents have a major role to play in building, guiding, and inculcating good habit in their children. That was one of the things you said last Saturday, that we shouldn't just abandon our responsibility. Okay, more text messages. Good morning, ma'am. I'm Nancy from Barua. I'm really enjoying your program. Is it okay? That was the message we had last week. Nancy, that wanted to know if it's right to have. Okay. Says, environment, peer group, poor background, bad parenting can affect our children. How can poor background affect your child? Poor background
may not necessarily mean poverty within the context. The poor background it could refer to social status, it could refer to the exposure of the parents, it could refer to a mindset. So a poor background is not necessarily poverty in the sense of the word absence of money. It could be absence of knowledge, absence of exposure, a social status and stuff like that. So you realize that it has disadvantages and advantages. Some children, because of their poor background, are more serious with life. They are more determined that I don't want to end up where my parents ended up. You know, it wasn't their fault, but I want to be a better person. And then there are some other children who had it all together and they don't see any reason to be any other pressure, they are not self-driven, they are not goal-driven. So the poor background can affect children if, for example, there's no one to properly guide on the importance of education. There are some settings where they feel that once the child is out of secondary school, the next thing is go and fend for yourselves. So the moment, the poor background there is not that they can't push a little further to get the child through school.
Okay.
Maybe a federal school, a state school, and stuff like that. It may be difficult, paying fees may come late and stuff like that, but they can still get that child through school. But poor background then comes in the sense of mindset.
It's a mindset.
So look, Kamaru ti lo kọ́ṣẹ́ o, oya, iṣẹ́ kí lo fẹ́ kọ́? After secondary school, when they can still go a little further. So and there are some areas where the quick money mentality is also not helping. So immediately after secondary school, you just pick up in fact, before they finish secondary school, they pick up bikes. They are bike riders.
Already.
And it's bringing in daily income. So why should they strain themselves? Why should they stress themselves to, sit with a textbook that is not generating money?
Okay.
I
yes.
agree with Fola about the poor background may not necessarily be financial, but also the mindset and the orientation.
Yeah.
And guess what? Particularly of the orientation and the mindset of the parents.
True.
Last week I mentioned that you can't give what you do not have. But I want to, come out from another perspective, Fola. And this is that I really, from what the question,
Yes.
says, really it can't be from a poor background, as in literally poor background.
As in poverty.
Poverty. Because they need to want to make ends meet sometimes. Have you asked yourself that why sometimes do you see kids, children out, hawking, even in traffic, and you're like, wow, this child, how old are you? And says 7, says 6, says 10, 8.
But those children have to help the parents.
They have to help the parents. And so in that process, they are exposed. So really, poor background, literally, as it's said,
there's also that.
Can cause that. Okay, so look at the issue we're trying to look into last week about the parent who is aware of the relationship of their daughter with an older man. An older man who has kids and who has children, kids and a wife.
And they're not objecting because of money.
Because of money. So it's a situation where it's economical reason.
Okay, I want my producer is telling us that we need to wind up now. But Tinuke, I want your final words on this issue of nurturing teenagers side by side, the realities of our times.
Well, one sentence I will use is that parents need to be awake. Parents need to be, they need to be awake. They need to be present. They need to be aware. They need to be involved in the communication and non-communicative communication of their children. They need to be very observant. Okay. So take for instance now, everybody says busy Lagos, busy Lagos. So, Thursday, Friday, my children are on meet and break. So automatically, I was at home. So everything I was doing, I just said, okay, these 2 days will be my working from home days. Okay, so now do I know? So I'm going to be at home, not necessarily shouting at them, but guess what? Checking out their movements, checking out the things they say, and I'll be acting like as if I'm really not attentive. I'm not really not interested. But yes, I am. Why? Because I want to get to know them. And once I get my information and I get my facts, then I go back, think about it, then pray about it for wisdom, or on how to throw it back at them and all of those things. So like I was sharing with you earlier, that someone told me that the past, the relationship you didn't have with your children while they are growing up, when you are aged, you can't have it. So that really got to me like, wow. So my children should be so much used to, oh, I miss my mom, I miss my dad. I want to go home to check up on them.
So that's very important.
That's very important. So we should be awake, we should be aware, we should be present in our duties. Parenting is work. Let's take it. Parenting is work. It is not enough to just give birth to children and say you are feeding them. Feeding children You know, feeding them, clothing them is not enough. The core of parenting is training. And parents should be their children's first role model.
Thank you very much. And Fola, your own final words in this regard.
I'll just advise parents to adopt the slogan of that company, the defunct company that used to say, "We speak your language." Because
we speak your language.
the problem is the boomers generation parenting a millennial generation wants to speak the language that you spoke in the 70s and 80s to train children who are growing up or who are born
in the days of Bill Gates.
Exactly, who are born right into the middle of codes, right into the middle of artificial intelligence, big data, science. If you know what's going on in the heads of those children, the loads of information they are processing at a go. We were never exposed to half of that kind of information. Never. We were not born into smartphones and all of that. So we had to grow into it. But they are born right into it. That's why someone was, my child who is now 8, at the age of 2, 3, could maneuver phones without breaking it. And people will look at her funny. So we need to speak their language.
Speak their language. Yeah. I love that. And I want to say thank you, even
My
though
pleasure.
it's short notice. Thank you for, you know, you're going to be a regular, so don't let me say too much thank you, because they'll still see you and see you. Both of you, they'll see and see and see. But thank you both for being on the program today. You have heard it. Speak their language. Be attentive. Be present. Those are the 3 key words I'm taking. Atinuke says, be present. Communicate. And Fola has said, speak their language. That is a step in the right direction. We'll take it up from there subsequently on AM Saturday Live. Thank you for being there. Please use your face mask and wash your hands regularly. I always tell you, COVID-19 will be wasau. It is real. Thank you for being there. Bye-bye.